Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. All right, let's try it again. Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. Give me a little feedback so I can hear myself. Um, good morning. There we go. Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. One of the interesting things is if you're a public speaker, you want to be able to hear yourself. So you can hear yourself, so you can modulate your voice. And so when I'm asking, give me a little bit more, it's so I can hear myself.
Wasn't that a finable event just then?
What?
That was a finable event that just occurred.
Oh, well, good morning, Debo. Yeah.
You remember what you said?
No, but
you said one of the interesting things.
Doggone it.
Yeah. Go in your pocket. Put it
Man,
in the
I got to start bringing cash. Killing myself. I'm killing myself. Sorry for saying interesting. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Clark. Good morning, Jermaine. How's everybody this morning? Wow. So let me do a couple cleanups on aisle 3. Yesterday I could not think of the co-op, but the co-op, and I still can't think of it. So because someone did hit me up with what it was. Outpost. Yeah. Outpost is the co-op. The brother had called in. I think he's in Vegas now. Had called in, wanted to know about Mondani, the guy who's running for mayor in New York. Had talked about city-owned stores, co-ops, and yep, it is Outpost, and you pay a membership fee. And someone said that it's Kroger's, not Roundy's, but Kroger's owns Roundy's. Yeah, I think Kroger's on Roundy. So, and then I got a call from Cap this morning, and we were talking about that the EPA has declared the water safe in Flint. I had stated that the water came from Detroit, according to an article that I'm reading this morning. To an article that I was reading this morning said that it was the water did come from Detroit, and the Flint River was contaminated by the different corporations there. Okay, and so it is Kroger's. I don't see Roundy's. Who owns Roundy's? So Kroger's owns the Pick and Save. My understanding, that's correct. You guys can let me know. All right. So you good? You know what, man? I never got to my weekend. I don't know how y'all get me going places, man. But I did get down to the Milwaukee Black Arts Festival, and it's a good time. I like what they did. They used the north side of the Summerfest grounds. I was telling Rhonda, so I said, Kennedy, you want to go and get some ice cream? And she's no. So we ended up going and getting some ice. But I told Rhonda afterwards that I'm just so proud to be able to walk around with Kennedy, because I'm proud of everybody, but really proud of Kennedy. That's my girl. And so at some point, didn't Roundy's own Pick and Save? Yeah.
So who used to own Pick and Save?
Yeah, Roundy's owns the Pick and Save here. Okay. Not Kroger's. The Metro Markets. Yeah, that's Roundy's.
So was Piggly Wiggly or?
That was a whole different chain. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Uh-oh. They're bees? Yeah. Let's see. What's I do this weekend? Well, I was too sick to go to church Sunday, so I have no report on that. But no, I actually had a good time. Saw a lot of people, as you always do. Let me shout out the brothers, the Sigmas. They won the stepping contest in the Greek show, and the Deltas won for the women. So that was interesting. the first stepping I'd ever seen was at Fisk University. Me and my buddy were on our way to Ripley, Tennessee, and we stopped in Nashville and we went over to Fisk University. And that was the first time I'd ever seen a black black fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. And it's interesting to me. I don't know. I'm not Greek, so I don't know how people feel about what stepping looks like now. I do know I was very impressed many, many years ago when I saw it. But that was good. That was good. Shout out to Kwabena, who was the MC for that. Yeah, up till Carl Thomas. Okay. All right. I miss Kevin Ross. Oh, but let me shout out Mel and Sandra. Man, Lysandra brought it, man. She was showstopper, man. Lysandra just has an incredible voice. I mean, that Lysandra used to sing in my ear, at Metropolitan. When I would sit there, I sat where the sopranos sat, and you could hear talk about just a pure soprano. Man, Lysandra. So Sandra B, they did very well. And I told somebody, you're in trouble when the local acts are better than the national act. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, man. But yeah, they brought it. I did miss him in terms of I didn't miss Carl Thomas. I could hear, and at first I didn't know who it was. I thought it was a local dude. And then I looked because there was no band. Now look, you can get away with tracks. I remember when Yolanda Adams came and she did a show down at MATC. It was a scholarship fundraiser. Pastor Lee Shaw there, St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ, did it in the name of my buddy, Robert Crimes. Excuse me. And the dude had then those little iPods. That was her sound guy. Man, if she did it on tracks, it was incredible. It was incredible. I like if you can get a band there, love to have the band there. But yeah, dude was what is his hit?
I wish I never
That's what
met
I
her.
thought. Yeah.
Summer rain, summer rain.
Oh, Summer Rain. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Summer rain. I wish I never met her.
Yeah. Okay.
Wish I never met her.
Yeah, we was over in the African Bazaar by that time. I bought some shea butter and got a chance to talk to a brother from Ghana, and we were just talking about. He showed me like different cloths, and he showed me mud cloth, and mud cloth is big in Western Africa, but countries like Mali. This T-shirt I'm wearing, actually, Rhonda reminded me. Last year we went down to, I think it's the African Fest down in Chicago. And the year before, when I saw the pictures, I wanted to go. Man, it was like thousands. Me and Rhonda got down. There were about 30 people. And yeah, because the year before it was free. The year we went down, they was charging. So that shut it down. But I always love to be able to go and to see the different fashions from Africa, the fabrics, the colors. It was Africans who introduced indigo, to the Western world. So you had to be able to go and experience that. And that's why I asked when the brother was in, I was asking him about, we have a tendency, in terms of the anthropology. If you say black throughout the world, they think you mean us as Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, right? No, they call but when you say black, because what we did, certainly in the 60s, we embraced that term. We talked about black power, black beauty, black consciousness. And so they attribute that, where other people, it's pretty much where you're from, and where you're from, you're Nigerian, you're Jamaican, you're Colombian. I didn't know we had descendants of enslaved Africans in Ecuador, certainly in Colombia, Brazil, right? You have these countries in the world where we are. The time we went to the Caribbean, we're in Puerto Rico, they talk about obviously the African influence there, places like the Dominican Republic, Haiti, where, we're all, and for us, I know in the Nation of Islam, they used to call us the lost found people here in the New World, that for many of us, we cannot go back to our real indigenous roots, right? We cannot go back to the village that our ancestors came from. Some people go back and trace it, but many of us cannot. That was by design. They erase your history. They take your language. I was telling my buddy yesterday, I said, you know what? White folks have done a real good job brainwashing black folks. Our conditioning is such that, it is so, wow. I just had to back up for a moment and just go like, wow, how we're taught to think and how we view the world. And there are people who will argue. And I was listening to you two guys talking about your experiences at Greenfield, Wauwatosa school system. I came home from school one day, and I was a little frustrated, and I was feeling all kind of ways as it relates to race. And my mother said something to me. Is that a pretty good steakhouse, chop house? Okay. My mother said something to me. She said, I didn't send you out there to change people. I sent you out there to get an education. Ooh, wow, that's interesting looking at it. And my buddy and we were talking about, actually, I had Jeffrey right at the wrong college, but we were talking about a college called Bates College in Lewiston, Maine. Bates College is considered what they call Little Ivies. Little Ivies are not the typical Ivy League schools, Yale, Dartmouth, Harvard, Princeton, Cornell. That's the Ivy League. Little Ivy are very competitive, very academically stringent schools, very exclusive schools. When you're looking at probably the average SAT score of 1450, 1500, people come with means. So we were talking about Bates College in Lewiston, Maine. My buddy said, was that a HBCU? I said, in Lewiston, Maine? No, it was not. Well, one of the fascinating things about Bates College, their alumni includes one Bryant Gumbel, who went to Bates College, and Benjamin Mays, who was the president of Morehouse College when Martin Luther King was a student. He was Martin Luther King's mentor. There is no magic. There is no magic in going to school with white people. I'll say it again. There is no magic in going to school with white people. Here's the magic. Take advantage of the resources that are in the school where white people are. We get to dealing with the whole social and cultural piece of it, right? And that's real. That's why many of us who are in predominantly white institutions form black student unions, right? Because it's either hostile and sensitive to your particular cultural needs. But your cultural needs become secondary. And here's something I wish I would have grasped based on what you have available to you in terms of resources. In terms of resources. I had to play catch up when I went from MPS to Dominican High School. Not that I wasn't smart, but where we were in terms of the academics and where that school was, it was at a different level. All I'm saying to folks, if your kids are in these PWIs, you can you want to do that, you can force change, and get all of that. But you need to take full advantage of those resources that are available there. You have to be the spook who sat by the door. You take it all in. The things that you're exposed to. I gave my buddy a great example, even with my Dominican education. English Lit was a requirement, what they call the core. And so my sophomore year in college, I did English Lit. My freshman year in college at American Baptist, I did English composition. Because what they were doing was because what it was at American Baptist, a lot of men called to the ministry. I say primarily men, called to the ministry. They were older, and so they were going to school to study the Bible. So it, my English comp class was like an English class I had taken in high school. You know, how do you write? How do you address a letter? There's all these little things. Mother Fitzgerald. So I take an English lit class, and now we go back to Old English. Old English looks nothing like or sounds anything like the English we use today, because English is a Germanic language. So we go back. So there is one of the seminal pieces of literature in Old English is Beowulf. Now, there were kids who were at Mount St. Mary's who read Beowulf in high school. I did not, and I was at Dominican. Here's the point I'm making. What you're exposed to makes ultimate difference when it comes to your academic development. I had several friends at university school, and they were talking about taking Russian literature classes. Russian literature? I can barely do English. But that's the demands. Now, everybody is not at that point, black or white, where they're able to absorb or learn or pick up in that level. And like I said, then when you get into those environments, like Dominican, it was race, but then it became class, economic differences. I'll never forget, I went by a buddy of mine's house, and he was convincing me, or trying to convince me, to run for student government president. And I remember going down in his basement, and his basement was better furnished than my house. Let's just start there, okay? I mean, so, those economic differences, those class differences were real. And here's the thing about when one has resources, what you're exposed to, what you're able to do for your kids. For many of my classmates, they, on spring break, they go skiing. They go to Aspen. Where I go for spring break, the Y and roller skate. My mom didn't have money to send me to Aspen to ski. But so when I hear people talking about, being in these PWIs, a lot of times it's not that we're not smart enough to be there. You're more than smart. What you discover is you're probably smarter than many of your classmates. The issue is the adjustment we have to make either to the economic differences or the racial differences, certainly certain cultural differences, and then that impacts us. We're human beings, right? It's the anthropology. It has everything to do with where we come from and then how we comport ourselves in these environments. So you take advantage of it. You take advantage of it. I wasn't listening to the dude sitting on the porch, when I was coming home. I never, we played St. John's Cathedral, which is now closed. And it's downtown. It's more of a working class, Italian, Irish school, black students there. And they was chanting when we got in the gym, rich boys, rich boys. Me and Kenny looking at each other talking about, who y'all talking about? Are you kidding me? But the class differences in America is real, and especially around economics. And then we have race. So that's my little editorial. That when you put the kids in the environment, you learn all you can. Be a sponge, man. Be a sponge. You're listening to Community Voice. At the bottom, we'll be inside. Be healthy. Be you. We'll be right back.
Now, back to Be Healthy, Be You with your host, Keith Parris, Brenda Buchanan, and Julie on WNOV 106.5.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. Well, good
I've
morning.
been listening to you guys.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That voice you hear is that Miss Julia Means. Of course, Miss Brenda Buchanan. This is what?
Preacher.
No. What was he? 1, 2.
All right.
1, 2. You had to be here.
Yeah,
We
and
got a good laugh.
and introduce yourself.
And I'm Christina. I'm a student with Brenda.
Oh,
Pretty blue eyes.
okay.
We talked about lots of things.
Very blue. Who said that? Somebody was interviewing somebody. A sports guy
Okay.
was interviewing somebody, and the athlete said, "Oh, you got pretty blue eyes."
You know, I was at this clothing store out in Mequon as part of a little complex there, and this woman came in to talk to the guy that owned the store, Louis Jordan. That's the name of the store, and I remember looking at her, and I'm not this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was so struck by her eyes. I said, "Wow, your eyes." So no disrespect. I'm not.
Yeah.
But man, every now and then there's people who had, it was like Elizabeth Taylor's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Mhm.
just
Oh, Prince eyes.
who?
Prince.
Prince.
Yeah, like you can't look Prince in his eyes without feeling a certain
Without what? Without what?
way. Without feeling a certain kind of way.
Oh,
Really?
tell me more.
Like Prince.
Dude, when I came home and people were saying, "Oh man, there's this dude out here named Prince." I'm like, really? He said, "Oh man, he cold. So I saw Prince and I was going, the outfits.
He lost me.
Oh man, the outfit was Prince was the ruffles. I mean, it was
High
the
heels.
purple, the high heels, but then that first lick, and you go, oh. They talk about the fashions and like rock stars, and it seemed like the more flamboyant, the more like you just don't show up in a suit, right? The one time Prince showed up in a suit, I think he was on the Today Show with Brian Gumbo. But even the suit was just like
Yeah, it wasn't a
big
regular
tie.
suit.
Yeah, I guess I'm too scared. I don't have the courage to wear stuff I see people wear. I just don't have the courage. You all are smiling. You all have that sheepish. But really, don't you look at some folks and say, "I wish I could wear that." Yeah.
I feel like it really depends though. I'm definitely not I couldn't wear anything that a rock star or anything would wear, or even some of the people that you see walking every day. It's just some of their. I applaud them. I think they have good fashion sense and stuff. But then if I try, I'm like, I can't.
Well, and I think that some of the things, certainly when you see fashion folks, if they're wearing it now, that means we'll probably be wearing it 2 to 3 years. Women a little bit different. Women, their fashions are changing every 3 months, right? I mean that for men, our even though we say we have seasons, it doesn't move as quickly. I say this and hopefully not to offend anyone. It's not to be offensive, and it's anecdotal. But watch what gay men are wearing. If you're a man, that's what you're going to be wearing about 2 to 3 years.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh? That's true. It really is true. I mean, there's some stuff out there. I was going like, I'd never wear that. Man, what is that? 3 years later,
Yeah.
look at the suits, right?
Mhm.
You know. So just so folks know, for guys and for women, clothes are getting big again. You know, the big pants,
Yeah, the wide leg
oversized,
pants.
wide legs pants.
I am so glad they're back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I am. I'm so glad they're back in.
You don't like the micro?
I didn't like the tightness.
The skin tight?
Oh no. So I like the and that's what we wore. You know, the bell bottoms and
Yeah.
you know.
I remember
But the
my
bell
first pair of
bottoms-
bell bottoms.
Bell bottoms were still tight. I mean, it just
They
at the
were.
flare at the
They
legs.
just at the bottom, but not
Yeah.
the whole big leg.
Right,
but
right. You know,
Yeah, make them a little different nowadays where they still fit for them.
right, but they're all big.
yeah,
That's-
it's nice.
but I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, and I was watching some stuff from the 90s. First of all, brothers, how do we get all those buttons on the suit?
right.
And then,
Right.
you know, how big those suits were.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it sort of almost, you know, the zoot suits where the jackets were longer, you know, but yeah, man, it was more. I think when we went to microfit, I think that was a way for the clothing industry to get more money doing less material,
Mhm.
because it made, man, like I said, I had coats, they would, you know. Oh, and we can't forget the 80s with the
Oh,
shoulder pads.
The
Oh,
shoulder-
my
had to have the
God.
shoulder pads. Man, I remember I got this green shirt. I don't remember one of those stores up in it's Bayshore, you know, when they had the indoor mall. It was one of those specialty shops. It was kind of shiny. It was double-breasted, had these big old shoulder pads. You couldn't tell me anything.
Oh man, showed up Shogun, right? No, so you know, you think about but even and it's great to say, but watch this. Even what you wear as nurses.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
so
yeah.
much better than what, you know, I had. Even in nursing school, I had to wear a little blue dress with a white pinafore on top. Talk about ridiculous looking, but that's what I had to wear. But now it's
looking like a novice about to become a nun, right? So they would have
right. Well, and if you had the hat, you might even think so more. But I was like the end of the hat wearing.
Well, let me ask that because it's about the hats, and I just watch it in movies. So they would call nurses in England sister. Why do you?
I don't know. You know, I love British movies, but yeah, nurses were held high like the nuns. So
Do you think it's because it was a lot of the charity care was done by nuns
I don't know. Could
in
be.
terms of hospitals? Because you know you talked about
healthcare was done by nuns.
St. Mary's and how
Mhm.
even
Took care of the sailors before they got into the city. The city wouldn't let them in. They
Mhm.
were full of diseases, and that's why they built that hospital right where they built it at.
Right on the lake.
Mhm.
well, yeah. I mean, but even now, I remember we had a few years ago we talked about the nurses' shoes.
The nursing shoes.
Yeah, you know the little white shoes that
Mhm.
you had to wear those too when you.
Oh
were...
yeah, absolutely. Only in the hospital you didn't dare walk out the door with your inside shoes on. You had to change shoes when you left or when you came in. You're not allowed to wear your inside hospital shoes outside.
Why was the predominant color of the uniform white?
Easy to clean, bleach. I mean, I'm sure that was part of it. You know, back then, you know, we didn't have the kind of fabrics we have now. Part of it was the look of cleanliness and, you know, purity. Yeah, have to think about that for a minute. If you know nurses, you got to think about that one. For
You a
minute.
nurse?
It was a morale clause.
Yes, it was.
It had to be.
Well, a lot of employers had moral causes.
Mhm.
You know, the police
Yeah,
department.
they
Yeah,
still do.
yeah.
Is hidden in there, but
And I
still
think if
do.
you had a religious kind of
oh, we most
organization,
certainly have
institution,
restrictions
yeah,
working
that there would be
for a Catholic
restrictions.
institution.
Yeah. But no, I just those questions, and now we got to that. But you know, now you see, I think wasn't it probably nurses that made Crocs,
I don't know. I know we sure wore them though once they came along.
which is
But then
up
we
there
couldn't
next to-
wear them because of the open
Right.
heel and the little perforations.
yeah,
in that. We
Crocs.
weren't-
You know, after Yeezys is probably the most ugliest shoe ever. Ever. Kennedy
They're
lives
comfy,
in Crocs.
but they're not pretty.
Huh?
I said
They're comfortable.
They're comfy, but they're not pretty.
Oh man, she loves Crocs. Oh man, and then I guess all the little girls,
Mhm.
you know,
Well, and you can decorate them now with all the pins and make them,
That's
personal.
You
with
got to buy all those little things to stick in the holes.
Mhm. Yeah.
so it was the holes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because those Yeezys, I still don't.
They are so unattractive. And I mean, and you think Crocs are expensive. My God, those are beyond. Yes, and they are so ugly.
Almost up to some of them go up to like 1,400.
That's crazy.
I saw one pair exclusive. I just seen it was like $950 something, but it looked like a meteorite.
I was gonna say something space related.
I don't want to walk around with a meteorite.
Are they comfortable?
Well, and then get your
Yeah,
feet cut off trying to take your
but
shoe.
They are very
Right.
comfortable.
Okay.
Mm.
Because everybody talks about what you pay for a pair of Jordans,
Yeah.
but they're the most comfortable shoes. I mean, it's like walking with pillows. It is, especially as you get away from. I don't know why people wear the MJ1s. That was the shoe that he broke his foot in,
Mm.
right? And the argument was that him, Jason Kidd, and others, they said they like to feel the floor.
Mm, mhm.
Where you looked at what we call Barclays, because of his size, you needed shoes with cushion to be able to
Cushion.
absorb it when they're jumping
Mhm.
up and down. So, you know, and I know we're not talking about podiatry, but the importance of different shoes that you wear, you know, like, is it Hoka?
Yeah, that's the big one now.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, Hoka.
Brooks. Those are like one of the top
Brooks.
two that, a podiatrist would recommend for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you got a choice. You can. There are people. Did she lose all that weight?
Mhm. She did.
Yes.
Wow. Diet and
Get
exercise.
outta here.
Diet.
Wow.
No, we're looking at Sherry Shepherd.
I
Diet
would
and
not
exercise.
have even recognized her.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
She didn't have.
She's a diabetic, so
She's a diabetic.
she'll tell you.
So
She'll
she's
show you.
probably
She
on
has
Ozempic
a
or
commercial
something.
where she
Mhm.
show you that she's a diabetic. So her
So-
diabetic medication probably helped her lose a
Yeah.
lot of
That's a
weight.
Mhm.
lot of weight, though.
It is.
And I'm
Wow.
sure
I thought she
did.
was cute before.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
There you go. So you guys are now. You're a nursing student. What year?
I'm in my last semester. We both graduate in October.
Okay. And so this is kind of like a practicum for you all, or what
Mhm.
are you-
Yeah,
Okay.
it's part of our clinical rotation.
So what are you going to be looking at? A specialty, or what are you?
You want to go first?
Sure. I currently work at Freighter right now as a CNA. And then I'm also what's called like a nurse extern. It's essentially a nursing student that gets paid. But I
And you get to
I
practice skills along the way.
Yeah, you get to practice
Yeah.
skills. You still take patients and stuff. It's like a part of your orientation to the job. So I'm working like on a med surg unit that specializes in oncology. So we get a lot of different like surgical cases, usually related to abdominal surgeries and stuff. So, but yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. But long term, I'd rather go to the ICU, work there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Julia's an old IC, not old and she's
Oh,
old,
I'm
but
old.
old in that she's ICU
I'm an
Uh,
old ICU nurse.
in both ways.
Yeah. I need young people in ICU.
I'm just still tripping on Sherry. She looks like a different person, man. If you walk past her, you wouldn't recognize her.
I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, she was
Until she
short.
laughed when she
Yeah.
did that big smile,
Yeah.
then and I still would have been
Okay.
thinking, oh, who is she? Looks familiar.
Yeah, she was good at ride along. Um, so, do you have a specialty?
So like Christina, right now I'm working in freighter in their emergency department in Wauwatosa. But I got an externship in the NICU. And I'm interested in working in intensive care. I've always been, for some reason, into like the blood guts and having to work fast and not knowing what you're expecting to see. So hopefully later on, I'm considering going into CRNA, which is a nurse anesthetist. So that's the plan so far.
I didn't realize this. I think I was reading. So, is Nancy a physician assistant?
No,
No.
she's a nurse practitioner.
No respect. Now, what's the difference?
Well, she's a nurse. Um,
Always define the term with the term.
they have a little bit more autonomy.
Okay.
They can be a primary provider like a doctor can, a nurse practitioner. PAs are more they have to work under the direction of a physician. They are more of an assistant. Schooling is similar as far as the timeline. However, PAs tend to be male dominated, even though we're starting to see more females in there. PAs still, even though they have less autonomy, they still make more than nurse practitioners. But, hopefully as time goes on, that squares away. But you might see a nurse practitioner running a clinic or having their individual caseload at a clinic. But with a PA, you wouldn't necessarily see that. They are supporting the physician. When I go see my orthopedic surgeon, I often see the PA, but then I'll see the doctor too. They may do rounds. Well, they used to do rounds. They still do with orthopedic patients. Do some follow-up care. They can do a lot of things, but they still have to be under the direction of a physician.
You see them a lot in ER.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Had you all ever thought about going on to you're in nursing school? It's kind of medical school, but to become doctors.
That actually originally was my first plan. I went to UW Milwaukee initially, and I was in one of their programs going for pre-med, but then after working at Freighter for so long and kind of seeing the different interactions the nurses get to have with the patients and how much more you get to be involved in the process, I decided to go back to school for nursing. So I thought about it at one point, but I didn't really want to deal with the schooling and everything, and then also the relationship that's so different.
Personally, that was my initial plan as well, going to medical school. But we had a couple situations in life where family health just declined a little bit. So I had to become in charge of the family. So going out of state was not an option anymore for me. And my acceptances were in state. So I put medical school, at least for now, on the side and decided to go into nursing, which still gives me that ability to give that patient care, build that experience, and do what I really love to do. And hopefully, if the Lord permits, later on, I'll continue and go back to medical school.
Mm-hmm. And a nurse anesthetist, which he was talking about going to school for, is an advanced practice degree. You know how you have the anesthesiologist at the head? That is exactly what a nurse anesthetist would be doing also, because there's not enough anesthesiologists around, to be honest with you. So they're an extender of that. So they might be in charge of your case in the hospital as an anesthesia person.
And that's
Are we dealing with a nursing shortage in America?
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's only going to get worse. They're doing a lot of things to try to address it, but we also have an aging population. As boomers, I'm on the tail end of that, there's not enough people to care for the people that are older.
You're on the tail end of it? Oh, no, I was smack dab in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
most people my age are retired.
Because I think boomers go to about 60.
63
63.
is the
Yeah.
63 is what kind of the official 1960. You mean like 1963
Yes.
born? Yeah.
Wow.
Do they have a Jurassic Park button over there?
What's that?
The Jurassic Park button with the da-na-na-na.
Well, we're aging, but as a just general, are we certainly we're in better health as we age. I mean, I think you hear people go like, man, I can't believe you're that age. I think because of what the images was when you see people, people ask me about, am I going to see certain acts? And I kind of go like, dude, no disrespect, but they old. I mean, I'm old, but they're old.
Right.
And you get kind of locked into, what you remember seeing when we had energy.
Yes.
And we're aging as a population because a lot of the original rappers have gray, can barely breathe when they're doing the show. You out there doing most of the show, because
they're holding the mic out because they can't keep
because
singing.
they can't sing, and you just kind of, So, but I think we're still in better shape, certainly than a couple of generations ago.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, the average age of death has gone up, which is good. We still see disparities in the minority communities, though, especially in certain zip codes where the life expectancy, even here in Milwaukee, in some zip codes for a Black man is in the 60s. It's pretty low. But yeah, we have improved. I mean, maybe it's because we're older now. We look back and we think, well, my mother didn't look like that when she was my age, and maybe that's true, or maybe now I'm just more sensitive to it because I'm that age. But yeah, advances in healthcare have made a big difference. Like Julie always talks about cancer, not necessarily a death sentence anymore. Even 10 years ago, there were certain cancers you probably weren't going to survive. 20 years ago, you knew you weren't going to survive. But it's very different now. So,
and that then engenders a whole new set of problems and challenges. We need people to work. I hear people saying, you need to be nice to these young people because they're going to be the ones who are going to be taking care of you.
It's frightening.
Yeah. So,
be like, Mom, I'm ready to go now. I'm ready to go.
Oh, man.
You taking care of me?
Kill me. Just kill me.
Right.
But I think, when we have these discussions around just health, and then we talk about health care, things like preventative health, we talk a lot on this program about diets and how important diet is, your lifestyle. I look at my mother, and when you look at her, she's 90.
Yeah.
And you hate to say you look good for 90, but you really do.
You do.
And there's people who are functioning. We have a young man at our church I think he's 94. And every Sunday he's ushering. My pastor's 91.
Awesome.
I mean, and people are still, function. Obviously, you're not functioning. We're talking about Joe Biden and his cognitive decline. Well, yeah, man. I mean, if you looked at how Obama aged
during his years,
right,
in the White
and
House,
the pressure that you have as president of the United States, of course, is going to have impact on.
Sure, those stress hormones do a number.
Yeah.
On all of us, let alone somebody that you're under stress 24 hours, 7 days a week. Big stress.
Yeah. I was I'm preparing a message, and so doing the research. Well, thank you, Julie. And preparing, doing some research on this thing about, we have this myth out there that the mind is not fully formed until we're 25, right? It says a myth. That what is that? That frontal lobe is completed by 25, but
men more so than women,
right? And that was the whole thing, that women emotionally mature sooner than men. But I found it real interesting in terms of, actually our brains we're still evolving.
Sure,
right?
we're always learning. Yeah, I mean, it's changing. That's why it's so important for us to stay active and to, not just sit and watch a TV, but to do things that encourage us to think and problem solve.
Watch our
and
stories.
Yeah, watch our stories. I don't know, you can do some problem solving on there for sure. Yeah, that's what my mother used to say. I got to watch my stories now.
Well, they said that frontal lobe, that is our area where we do our analytical, critical thinking, decision making, all of that
Impulse
is
control.
impulse control. So they're making the argument that, yes, you can have a 21-year-old who makes good decisions. As a matter of fact, many 21-year-olds are making good decisions. Many 21-year-olds have impulse control, right? Now, obviously, it's going up against some other things like hormones and, that whole thing, hormones.
Can mess up that impulse control.
Oh, my God. I mean, when you talk about having discipline at that age, you kind of go, my hormones are saying, but that's how we evolve. And then we get to the point that now we become part of the ecosystem. We die.
We doing that, yes.
Yes, we do. I mean, and there's people who have choices. We were having a very deep theological discussion here, and I've made the argument that everybody will die.
And their heart will stop beating.
Yes. And their brain will no longer cease to function.
And you know what? They're probably not going to hear or see anymore either.
Right. Because they're dead. But someone yelled from the peanut gallery, what about the rapture? And my argument,
that's right.
My argument was, well, until the rapture,
he's being a little quiet
everybody
today.
who died is going to be dead.
Yes.
It is because we were talking about like forest fires. And when I was a kid, I would go, because I love nature. So we'd be out, and it was like, why aren't you clearing out all this burnt, all the burnt trees? So that's the evolutionary cycle. It will go into the earth, it will replenish the earth, right? And it will grow new trees. That's natural. So you have where you go to certain forests where they'll do a burn. Well, they're doing a couple of things, building a fire line, but they're also allowing fertilizing those trees to go in to replenish. All I'm saying is that we're all part of this ecosystem, and how and I know some people for religious reasons have a problem with evolution. I'm only doing the science on this in terms of that's what we're all a part of. Neil deGrasse Tyson, is my guy, was saying that he doesn't want to be cremated. He wants a natural burial because he feels like that will make him part of the earth.
Well, you gotta get rid of that casket then.
Well, there
box around the casket.
There are companies that offer natural burials, and I do know that there's certain faiths that don't embalm.
Yes.
They
got to have all their organs with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's because of resurrection.
Yes.
And because even when they would do, like, let's say you had a car bombing in Israel, they had rabbis. Their whole job was to go out and collect, gruesome job, body parts.
Try to match them back.
Match
to
them
the
up.
person.
Right. And so that there are people, just because of a belief system, obviously, that whole 24-hour, 48-hour rule had everything to do with decaying bodies. We gotta, we need to bury them. And we'll get to hearing loss. But one of the things, there is some scholars who believe that Jesus was embalmed.
That he was embalmed?
That he was embalmed. Because Joseph, Arimatheus, and Nicodemus were well-to-do. Well-to-do people were embalmed. Most people couldn't afford it. But that's a speculation. I don't know if it's, obviously we don't have a body to be able to go back.
Somebody's gonna say they found it.
Right. We don't have to be able to go and do the DNA and see what in fact happened. But yeah. So I'm glad we had this conversation, which was about everything and nothing. Which is people say, "What's your program about?" Everything and nothing. We could talk about some of the most profound, deep things, and then get into some other things. All right. We're inside Be Healthy, Be You.
We're going to talk about the ear.
We're going to talk about the ear when we get back. What did you say? I couldn't hear you. I'm suffering from some hearing
I'm
loss.
sure you are.
It'd be like Kennedy. She'll go, what did you say? What do you say? I said, you have ant ears. We be talking about something upstairs and you coming up there repeating everything.
No,
when I say
they
something
hear
directly to
everything.
you, what did you say? So I don't know if she's had her hearing test in school yet. I know they still do that now where they do hearing tests.
They do the pediatrician would more or less do it. They don't do it in school.
I think some schools are still doing hearing and
What
visual.
school?
Okay, I'll find that out.
If PS don't have time for no hearing and vision screening.
Unless
stuff like that.
is the health department. I don't think they have time to
No,
come
they
in
don't
and
have
do
time
any
or
of
the
that.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying is a good word.
Yeah.
You're listening to, we good? No, we got it. Okay, hold on. We got a caller who's calling in. Flattened Subway sandwiches. Okay. I'm still tripping on Sherry Shepherd. That is a dramatic weight loss.
That's huge. And she's a petite little thing too.
Yeah, but wow.
She couldn't help it.
But she'd still be diabetic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but some of those newer medications are so great at controlling, diabetes, but a side effect, which is a good side effect for many people, is weight loss.
Yeah, but it's also diarrhea. No. People are saying that's one of the side effects.
Especially in
is
the
diarrhea.
beginning, some
Yeah.
people really they stop at a.
And some people that just don't like that. I think the other thing is, wow, I don't know what is that does for you. All right, you're listening to Community Voice with Inside Be Healthy Be You. We're going to take a quick break.
Be healthy, be you. With your host, Keith Parris, Brenda Buchanan, and Julia Means on WNOV 60 AM and 106.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Community Voice. And be healthy, be you. I'm good.
You all right?
I'm good.
You all right,
I'm,
Keith?
I'm good. I know where I
Can
am.
you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me?
So today we want to talk about hearing loss. You know what I found out, and this man, deaf people cannot hear.
Really, Keith? Well, I have heard a person who is not able to hear is said to have hearing loss.
That's what they call it.
What,
so
Julia?
many people are in denial
Yes.
that they have hearing loss and don't realize that they're using, that they keep saying, huh? What you say?
Or turning the
they-
TV up so loud.
Or they talk very loud.
Yes.
They do, Keith.
They talk very loud.
But I do have a story. Okay. One morning I woke up and I couldn't hear out of my right ear. So I thought maybe, because I had a little cold thing going on, I thought maybe I was clogged or whatever. And so I asked my daughter, because she has a lot of nasal stuff, and nasal stuff can bother your ears.
Oh, does mine, yeah.
I said, when you get stuffy like that, does it damage your hearing? And she's like, no. And I said, oh, I can't hear out of this ear. She said, well, I'm going to tell you what you tell everybody else. I said, what? She said, go to the doctor. I said, okay. So I called and made an appointment. Couldn't get into my doctor, but I got in to see the nurse practitioner. So the nurse practitioner had a student with her. And so the student examined my ear. And yeah, you can't hear in that ear. And so she went to her preceptor, like Brenda is with them. And the preceptor came in and she did the examination too. And all of a sudden she got urgency. She called a hearing doctor and got me an appointment right away. She started me on this mega dose of steroids and everything. And now I'm scared. How they say it? I'm scared now. What she told me was she's married to a doctor who specialized in hearing. And I had this virus in my ear that had I not came in immediately, I could have permanently lost the hearing in my ear. But I did wait a little while, so it was still up in the air whether my hearing was going to come back. So I went through this massive treatment of steroids and went to see the hearing doctor, and he explained to me he was already starting to give me choices of hearing aids that I probably would need, because they did not believe my hearing was going to come back. And it was devastating to realize, and I was completely deaf in my right ear. That's scary to even drive, to even drive or function. I know we had Blanket of Love and they wanted me to do an interview. I'm like, no, I ain't doing that, because I couldn't hear. And I say with prayer and a lot of begging. I went back for a hearing test and it came back. But now I have met people that say that they were on vacation or they were somewhere else where they couldn't get medical treatment immediately, and they lost their hearing because of this situation. And I wanted to say that because if you wake up one morning and you haven't had problems with your hearing, and you wake up or you have a instance where one ear is not, you can't hear, you need to get to the doctor immediately so you can get that treatment started. And this is an emergency situation that could save your hearing. And many people say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it.
Right.
And
and thank goodness too, when you talk about God that you had a nurse practitioner with a husband that specializes in this. So it clicked in her head this could be it, as opposed to I can imagine that could be missed by many people.
When I went to the hearing doctor, the first thing he said is, "Who caught this?" I said, "A nurse practitioner did." And he's like, "Really?" I said, "Oh, she's married to a doctor." So they probably discuss it. He's like, she caught it and she prescribed what you needed.
Well, I knew ear, nose, throat, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of the viruses that are in our body comes either through our nose, through our ear.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't realize
They
that.
don't realize
Mhm.
it. Insect bites.
Insect bites. People think about like vertigo, right?
Mhm.
But and I thought it was very interesting. So yours was viral.
Mhm.
Other people, it could be anatomical, right? They're in that situation where they're a lot of
Gross.
noise.
Yeah.
Oh,
rock,
sure, they
rock
can't-
musicians.
All
They
of
can't
them are
hear,
deaf.
that you've got damage
Right.
from,
Yeah.
and that's why, when OSHA came along, heavy machine operators, have to wear hearing, to protect their hearing because of the likelihood of long-term hearing problems.
I was down a couple years ago at Garfield Day, and Debo's group was performing, and I walked past the speaker. I mean, real close to the speaker.
Mhm.
I had never had that where that sound was like woo, and it was deafening. Or I went to a Parliament Funkadelic concert,
Oh,
sat in the
yes.
second row.
Ooh.
My ears were like ringing for like 2 days.
Mhm.
So I would think that rock musicians,
Oh,
people,
most definitely.
most musicians where it's loud,
Mhm.
that it could be doing damage. So we can have viral, and then we can have what, anatomical,
Sure, you can have trauma.
bacteria.
Yeah, you can have trauma
Really?
to the ear that can cause
okay.
hearing loss. There's also other diseases, like I don't know if you ever heard of Meniere's disease, which is a disease that they don't know exactly what causes it, but autoimmune injury to the ear. You get that fluid buildup in the inner part of the ear, and it can cause severe hearing loss, vertigo.
What is it an indicator for young people? A lot of young people get tubes in their ears. Might that be indicate? Well, it says here, the statistics says that age is a strong predictor of hearing loss among adults, ages 20 to 69, with the greatest amount of hearing loss from 60 to 69.
What'd you say?
From 60 to 69.
Oh,
But you didn't hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
Children,
But
and like with newborns, they test them for hearing, especially if they're premature, and if they're in the ICU. But they do hearing tests on babies too, and as your children grow up, they're testing their hearing, and like it they don't leave it to the schools anymore. They make sure the pediatrician is checking their hearing loss, but it also the parents should be looking out for that too, and about their children and see if they can
Remember in
hear.
Creed?
Yes.
Yes, she
Yeah,
was
in
deaf.
Yes.
And they were fearful when she had the baby, whether the baby was deaf or the baby did turn
It
out to
was a
be deaf.
genetic.
So it was genetic. Where I had a girlfriend in college. She was a deaf education major.
Okay, I was gonna say you had a lot of girlfriends in college.
One or two.
3, 4 times 10. No.
But she was a deaf education. That was her major. And she did a semester at Gallaudet. I don't know if people are familiar with Gallaudet College in Washington, D.C. It's a school for the deaf. And when you go into that environment, things like when you go in the dorm room, okay, you can knock on the door. No, it's the light. And she said, as doing deaf education is so physically taxing because you can't say Julia. You have to literally go up and touch Julia. So then you can communicate. It was fascinating. I was trying to figure out with the football team. There was a commercial. I don't know if you all saw it, was Gallaudet College. And I was trying to figure out, how did he get the plays? Well, the one thing that they go on is like, deaf people can dance. You go, what? Because
Oh,
of
they can feel the
vibration.
vibration.
So
yeah.
they had a big bass drum, and they would hit the drum, the vibration would go, and by the vibration, they knew what play to run. It was a different world,
Yeah.
in terms of that, and so they're. But yeah, you've never heard Gallaudet at college. Yeah,
We have a great school here for students
for deaf.
in Wisconsin. But as nurses, you never know when a person with hearing loss is going to be a patient.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to change your practice. And like you were talking about flicking the light on, I had a deaf patient, and after scaring her half to death every time I walked in the room, she taught me to flick the light on when I came in, and then she would be prepared for me to come in. And like, doing teaching, we teach all of our patients, and even the teaching and getting face to face with them. But they're very fearful when they're in an environment that is speaking, hearing. They're very fearful, and a lot of times some of them can't speak because if they weren't trained or didn't get
help when they were little. They never learned
they
how
never
to.
learned how
But
to
they can sign.
but they can sign.
We had neighbors up the street, and their mom and dad were deaf. All the kids could sign. All of them could rip a lip read. Let me tell you about how you have to when you go into differently abled environments. There was a young lady. Well, she was mentor of my mom.
Oh,
and I was
girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say another girlfriend, Keith.
That look.
My bad. But
you gotta tell.
So she was blind. So I would come, I was staying with her while her husband was out of town. So I come home one night and I go, Miss Middlebrook, why are you sitting here in the dark?
Poor baby.
Good one, Keith. Real good.
About St. Mary's education. She was really nice. She said because I'm blind, Keith. Oh my God. So, when you go into these environments, you need to be sensitive, to, what it is that they're dealing with and how they're able, to. I mean, Helen Keller is really phenomenal to me. I mean, we're talking about someone who was both deaf and blind, but was able to learn how to communicate in such a way, and the profundity of her communication, even though she had to communicate differently. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Well, good morning to everyone there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a twofold question. First of all, is nerve deafness real and can it be reversed? And secondly, can it be hereditary?
Yes to both.
Really?
It depends on how badly that nerve is damaged and how long it's been damaged.
And that's why they wanted to do it quickly.
Correctly. Yep.
Yeah. Time is of essence if they're going to regenerate that nerve.
So would that be was it like some traumatic nerve damage that caused it, or what, when you talk about nerve damage?
Well, for me, I lost my hearing in one ear as a child.
Okay.
And of course, when you tell the adults you can't hear, well, you hear me. Go somewhere and sit out. Yeah. So, yeah, and I never, got treated for it. But I have an aunt who lost her hearing one ear at a time, and she was totally deaf by the time I was like a teenager. And she has a daughter that has lost her hearing in 1 year. And I have a niece. There's several family members that have hearing loss, and I just wonder, could that be hereditary?
Well, that sounds hereditary.
Yeah,
Strong possibility.
or could it just be something in the air?
That only affected your family.
It's only affecting my family because, you know, I don't know. I saw a hearing specialist recently because, of course, I have concerns about my other ear. So I just keep checking on that. And he said that they had discovered that a lot of people who were presumably had hearing nerve deafness, that it was actually a tumor on the eardrum. And so he checked to see if that was so, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So is that something that's just now coming out, or?
No,
No,
you
it's been
know,
around for a long
even
time.
with that incident that I had, they checked me to make sure I didn't have any structural blockage or structural reason for it. So I went through all kind of MRIs and everything. So yeah, that is something that they do. But whenever you notice or things, and as families, we need to talk about it because if it's running in the family, you you want to. They do a lot of genetic testing now that's cheaper. It used to be so expensive, but it's cheaper now, and insurances will pay for it. So you need to find out, and so that you can prepare your other family before they lose their hearing.
Well, you say that like they probably will.
But
Well,
you need
if
to
it's
find out.
genetic, you need to find that out. Correct.
Oh, okay. Oh. That's the music in the background saying it's time for a break.
Regular listeners, you must know it's time. Well, take us to break.
No, that's right.
All right. You're listening to Community Voice, BLCBU. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Jamie. California lawmakers are considering a bill that would require cities and counties to track new black careers or descendants of people enslaved in the United States. Starting in 2027, local pilot jobs will be offered three options: one for descendants of U.S. slavery, one for black employees who are not descendants, such as African and Caribbean lineages, and one for those who don't know decline to enter. Supporters say the change could finally bring visibility to more than 2 million Californians whose lineage ties back to U.S. cabinet slavery, until they is often invisible in local government data. The measure follows similar changes at the state level and stems from a recommendation by California's reparations task force. It would apply to all cities and counties, including charter jurisdictions, and could be reimbursed by the state if declared a mandate. For a news
Here's the updated forecast. We'll see areas of smoke at times here for today. Sunny skies high around 80 degrees. Winds out the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies will go near 66. By Wednesday, areas of smoke again mostly sunny high 83 degrees. Thursday, and high 85. By Friday, mostly sunny skies high around 89 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Leach-Ski on AM 860, The Voice. Woo! That's what happens to our hot flashes and night sweats can sound like. Venosa is the #1 prescribed hormone-free treatment FDA approved for moderate to severe eczema symptoms, also known as hot flashes and night sweats.
Are you feeling summer? It's time to feel season with delicious fare. Feel grand with Wisconsin's top executives from Quilting to horse shows. Live music at the Fake Pop Club and the Theater in Main Stage. And if you're feeling toughy, Spin City is calling your name. It's time to feel good. July 31st to August 10th. Only at Wisconsin State Fair. Presented by U.S. Cellular. Business office uncertain about growth in today's economy. You're not alone. Join the Business Council for its 27th annual lunch on Thursday, August 21st at 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the Adopt Community Center. This year's theme, Navigating Supplier Diversity, features special guests, Roland S. Martin, founder of Black Star Network, and celebrate 27 years of supporting diverse business statewide and gain insights into thriving in these economic times. Registration is required. Visit TBCMKE.events. That's TBCMKE.events. Or call me, Sylvester Hamilton Jr. at 414-287-4108. That's 414-287-4108. This is proudly sponsored by WNOP Voice Associated Bank, WEBC, Movers Community Foundation, and more. Don't miss it. Thursday, August 21st. Let's go get it. Deal hunters, the shelves are loaded, our prices won't be beat at Fleet Farm. Get 5 quarts of molten or full synthetic wood for just $21.99 after $5 rebate. Take 30% off all nuclear dog food. And all must go ahead Touch 2X spray paint or buy one get one 50% off. From pets to paints to pickup. Let Fleet Farm help take care of all your day-to-day needs. Always at the best prices, guaranteed. And check out all the weekly deals at fleetfarm.com. 860 AM 106.5 FM. WNOV. The Voice. With your host,
You know, I shouldn't do this, man. I probably have some of the cleanest ears ever, but they tell you not to use Q-tips. It's interesting. A friend of mine, one of my teammates in high school, he was playing college football, playing with. They had those long swabs,
Mm-hmm.
and it got stuck in his ear.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he's still dealing with the residual
Yeah.
effects of that. You know, he
Mhm.
made national news, right?
Wow.
That it. So some of the things that we should. That now I don't understand this one. They said, you know, you should wear earplugs at a concert. How can you hear?
Yeah, well, you can still hear that, you know, it's not just so loud. You know, especially the type of concert and where you're sitting, just so it's not so loud. But
Yeah, I think where you're sitting becomes real important as
Mhm.
opposed to, because I went to see, was it Fantasia?
Mhm.
It
That
got
voice.
loud, but then I was able to adjust, but it got loud, you
Mhm.
know. Or even going to, I used to be a big wrestling fan. If you go to a WWE event, it is hot and it's loud. It's the pyrotechnics
Mm-hmm.
and everything is because they're really targeting kids,
Yeah.
right? And our little sense, you know, it's just like always have the music loud,
Mhm.
you know.
That's what you were talking about, the maturity and growing up. When you're young, you want it loud,
Right.
The louder, the better, you know. But as you get older, you get more sensitive
Yes.
to it, and loudness is not.
Because I love bass. and I'm a little bit more sensitive to bass now. I still love bass. I want to hear bass, but the frequencies. It's funny about hearing my godson Cameron. He had there was something he had to put tubes in, so he always. But he could hear low frequencies, and he could then give you that low frequency back perfectly. You know, rock music is high frequency, funk is low frequency, you know, in terms of, because it's heavy bass, heavy on the bass line drums. Rock is, you know, usually the lead guitar, and it's so being able to go and adjust. And now you have
gospel.
Gospel is,
I would say, it would be
what
a
do you think
little
it's
of both.
a little bit of both. Yeah. Because you know you got
that soprano
you
up
got
there.
the soprano. But it's with the different types of music, and when you go, and I think one of the things that I was able to do was, because of my love for music, I can distinguish sounds. Like if I'm really focusing, I can hear, oh, that's the oboe. You know, you can, because boy, when God created this machine,
only he could have done it.
she knew exactly what she was doing.
I was saying,
Always said it.
but and Keon is rolling over.
I know
right
he's
now.
rolling over.
He's yelling down to earth. It's a he. He gets so mad.
Julie, just so you all know, I don't subscribe to God having a gender, so that's why I will say she, you know, because God is he, and but when you say she, it'll stop the room. It will stop the room. You know,
does that a lot,
right? You know, and I know what Julie says. He knows. So I try to stay away from, try to be gender neutral as much as possible. Obviously, my programming has always been from the male voice. But even as I pointed out yesterday, when you study theology, even in Islam, wisdom in Islam,
it's a woman.
yes. The voice of wisdom is a feminine voice. And so, so she could have.
I mean, I'll say that. We wise.
That's
I
right.
mean, but the machine, just the thing, and a lot of that is our adaptation, right, to environments. That's how we evolve. The way we evolve as species is more to survive in the environment. And so I was just thinking about the other day, like teeth. You know, like you think like, well, why do we evolve in the teeth? Well, to be able to tear your food,
tear the meat,
make it more digestible, be able to swallow. And then we have a digestive system then that knows how to
break it down and use it and extract what it needs for our health.
Yeah. Is that the 119 Psalms? We are wonderfully made.
Yes.
Beautifully. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, it is when you, that machine, that thing that we call the human body. And let me say this, in terms of medicine, we've been able to find great mechanics, you know, to make sure that this machine works in the way that it should work, and that in many instances we can optimize the machine. So we talked about that.
I do want to add, I think on here, but a lot of times older people or even younger people may have, you know, their hearing may be dulled, or they can't hear at all. Sometimes it's simple as that ear needs to be cleaned out.
Right.
And so, you know, when you're talking about poking that Q-tip in there, other than just at the outside, sometimes you can impact that in there more. Now, I'm one of those people that have to get my ears cleaned out every year. And my ear, nose, and throat docs, it's a genetic thing. Even using like the Debrox and those things to just.
Because it now has a little ear suction thing where you can.
Yeah. She takes a little tool and she and I'm just amazed. You know, she does it, and what comes out is you're like, how could that have been in my ear? Right, like all of that came out of my ear.
Earwax is a residue, right? Dirt.
And you know, depending on how you wear your hair, you know, I got a lot of oil in my hair, so I get a lot of residue from that. some people, like the flakes, if you have dandruff, that's going in
Dry
your ear
skin.
and all that. So you have to, there's different types of ear wax or
Well, this is a government policy. If we realize that as we get older, more and more people suffer from some form of hearing loss, why isn't hearing aids covered by Medicare?
Right.
Yeah.
they're cheaper now, though.
They
Yeah,
are.
they are,
They're
but
still,
I'm
but
still
still, if you
saying-
don't have money, they're still not cheap.
Right, right.
They've been doing it at Sam's.
What the
Hearing
aids?
testing and selling hearing aids, and you don't have to have a script anymore. They just kind of do it for you. Where used to have that doctor recommend for you to get it and everything, but they're making it easier for people to get hearing aids.
You said you did concerts.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we have now, you have, like I asked for feedback so I could hear myself. And they have floor monitors. Now they're not doing floor monitors. They're ear monitors, right? Yeah, in ears. I was watching this and I thought of you at Mr. Jones's celebration. I sat near the musicians and they were doing numbers. And so I asked, Mr. Randy Watson, so what does those numbers mean? I was watching, and I'm only saying this because it was so unusual for gospel. There was this white keyboardist, and they started on him. They had it was split screen, so they had him, the band, and then they had the group that was performing, and he was doing just that. He go 5, and they go, and I was going, wow. Okay, so I just want to let you know I did see someone else do that. You were just, huh? Yeah, you were. It wasn't just something that you do. Also, let me say this: we had installed a new sound system at Metropolitan, and so we went to a seminar. A lot of people think that you just turn it on.
No.
But the guy who led the seminar said something that was it just stayed with me. He said that the musicians are important, the choir is important, but depending on the size of your facility, the sound people become the most important people. Because if it's not loud enough, you got a problem. If it's too loud, you got a problem. And it's because it's what we hear.
Sure.
You
and
know,
the mics, they're like sometimes you can barely hear a person.
Right.
To adjust that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that hearing piece, because it really is auto. When we sing, we speak, we read, but a lot of what we do is probably more what we hear, and so to be able to hear and to be able to take it in. We talked about that this could be genetic, some of the other things. They can also do ear implants. Am I correct? To help with your hearing.
They can do everything now.
I always love those little videos of little kids that are, 1, 2 years old, hearing their parents' voice for the first time or hearing anything for the first time. And they're just like, I just
and
love
regret
seeing
that
those.
day. Oh boy.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
I couldn't wait to hear it now. Can you shut it down? But some of the things, and let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
They have, can my friends and family. Oh, here's the other thing, folks, just for all you sound people. Don't
tap on the
tap on the mic. It's the worst thing you can do. Just speak into it. The sound people will pick it up.
Okay.
Am I correct? The reason why you hear music before the artist gets up is so that it keeps keep the speakers hot, so then it's not like this sudden thing. And so you just kind of keeping it right.
Sets your ear and it gets your ear ready for what's
But it's certainly the system, right? Because you just can't start blasting because it'll blow out the system. Okay. A little inside baseball. Can my friends and family help me? Well, can they? Yes. You can tell your friends and family about your hearing loss. They need to know that hearing is hard for you. The more you tell the people you spend time with, the more they can help. Then ask your friends and family to face, is this lip reading becoming more and more a thing?
Mhm.
That's why during COVID it was very difficult for especially people that had a lot of difficulty speaking and like nurses and healthcare professional communicating with those patients. It was very difficult. That's why some hospitals developed a clear mask just so the patients could be able to
See your
interpret and
lips.
see your lips.
Okay. You were going to add something?
Me? No, I don't.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that being a problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we got in trouble a lot because the patient was completely deaf. There was no sign language because we couldn't take as much in the rooms as we can right now. So we sometimes just brought the mask down.
And that had
we
to be a
knew.
problem because by law, you
Yeah.
have to have
The
that
mask.
interpreter. there, right?
Yeah.
The interpreter.
Ask people to speak louder, but do not shout. Now, how do you do that?
It's
Yeah.
that one's fun.
Yeah. Or, we do that with everything,
How about this? The white noise. Turn off the TV or radio if you're not actively listening. Okay, we just lost about 500 listeners. Oh, I turned it off to save my hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be aware of the noise around you. One of the things this has, obviously, with deaf folks, if they can see, they can see. One of the interesting things is in Tulsa, there are certain stoplights that are there for blind individuals, and you hear,
Oh yeah.
beep,
Walk.
Yeah, it'll tell you
walk.
when you can walk
Yeah.
and
Oh,
stuff.
but the beeps, and then what I discovered with blind folks, it's the number of steps. They count the number of
They
steps.
get used to.
And so that's how they're able to get from point A to point B. And the reason why they might be sitting in the dark is because they're blind. All right.
Save on that light bill.
Dark anyway.
Right.
Which drives me nuts. If you're not in the room, turn the light off.
My son is a professional light turner oner and leave on. Drives me nuts. I can come home if he's here visiting. Every light in the house will be on.
Well, I sounded
what?
like Jermaine. Well, let me tell you how I got to that point of turning lights off. Because if you're the last one upstairs, when we lived at 3371 North 5th Street, you need to turn off all the lights. I would go upstairs and don't turn off the lights. And then I would feel and see a light. It would be my mother.
You're like, that's a new kind of light.
Yeah, so well, just your light bill.
Yeah.
Turn
People
off.
don't believe that when they don't pay it.
Well,
It's funny because when I went to, all the things they tell you to do to save on electricity. So when I went to Greece and I knew I was going to be gone a little over 2 weeks, I unplugged the microwave. I unplugged a lot of things that, and then I made sure all the lights were off and I just unplugged a lot of things. I have never had such a low, I don't think I've ever had an electric bill that low ever. When I got my bill that month, I was shocked.
So is it safe to say that every night you probably should unplug a lot of stuff because it's still pulling in?
They tell you to do that if you're really trying to save. And then those things you rarely use, why have them plugged in? Like you have lights all over the house, lamps. What do you use them once every 3-4 months? Why do you really need to have them plugged in? But yeah, when they're in, they're continuing to draw. But yeah, I was just amazed at how low my electric bill was.
I thought about putting somebody on the bike and get some jumper cables. Hook it up to the house.
Run.
I mean, people almost got electrocuted, still in electricity, running it from. It's amazing,
that was a
boy.
big thing one time.
Yeah.
You see extension cords going from house to
Yep,
house.
that's right.
Well, I know.
Won't do it again, right?
I know our energy bill is going to be high because we've been running the air conditioner all
24
summer.
hours.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is. It seemed like a couple of summers never ran it, maybe one day, but man, it woo. So, if you think you're experiencing hearing loss, and then if you do your annual check.
And you should certainly tell them if you think you are having.
They'll ask
any.
you, yeah.
Mhm.
But most people say, no, I'm fine. But
And a lot of times they don't necessarily know that they're here because it's happening gradually. They may not know, or they may just think it's because they're getting Did you say? What? Did you say something?
We play a song here, the Deuteronomy. Whisper a prayer. And one of the lines is, why you shout at the Lord? Whisper. Stop yelling at the Lord. Oh man, that's just like people who speak. I've been to Puerto Rico. The assumption is all of us are Puerto Rican. Right? When they see you,
Yes.
everybody's Puerto Rican. So everyone speaks. But then this whole thing, I work on the South Side. Just because you yell it louder doesn't mean they understand what you're saying. You're trying to think, why is he yelling at me? Christina, thank you. 1, 2, thank you.
You had to be here.
Brenda,